No clouds are visible from what I can see. No time for TV, just me and my baby. We're gonna make our own old-time action movie.
Right on.
That's it. Okay.
And going live in 3, 2, 1. Here we are.
I love it. I love that painting. It's beautiful. I just bought an amazing shoesy pendant, and it's got some really cool coils and stuff in it. It's a really great electromagnetic chaos eliminator.
What? Hello.
I know. I'm
Good for
such
you.
a nerd. Okay. Anyway, I'm hoping that, you know, it looks like one person is here.
Nice.
We'll leave a few minutes. Just, 4 people have joined. I apologize. I know we said 7 o'clock. We had some issues trying to figure out how this works. But 7. Okay, so we're starting to
Awesome. Right on.
to see some people. Now, I'd like to open it up for comments. I don't see any comments. If somebody is tuning in, if you would be so kind to do a comment just so that we know that we can see what you're saying, that would be greatly appreciated. 10 people looks like here.
I'm still visible and stuff. I'm just sending out some invites as well.
Yeah. I can see you.
Awesome.
Hi, Wega.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Monday evening.
I'm just not seeing any comments. But I guess, you know, they'll probably come as more people tune in. But yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started if that's cool with you.
Absolutely.
Working great. Can see you both. Oh, thank you, Gord. Okay, and there's Brett.
Awesome.
And
hi,
Brett.
Just give me one more second here, and I'm gonna just send off a few more invites to people. Just because I'm able to go through my friends list here and just rifle off a bunch of them. Thank you so much for your patience, and I encourage everybody to take this opportunity to take a deep breath, because that's what I'm going to do too.
I could do that. Little namaste breath. Get in the present moment. Thank you, Wega. Yes, it does help for sure.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, well, hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. I'm really lucky to have Wegadesk here talking with me tonight, but you know, before I get started, I just want to tell everybody that you know, with all the negativity and stuff that's going on, I feel like I've almost been divinely guided to really just put it out there and try to put some content into the world that's going to raise our vibration up and make us start feeling a little bit better, you know, rather than us sort of, you know, living in this real sort of matrix reality per se. You know, it's quite a strange reality. So I've started something called Raising the Vibe Initiative, and what that essentially is that I have been lucky enough to, you know, connect with so many amazing people globally that I'd really like an opportunity to bring, you know, some of the information that they have to share to, you know, the people that are on my page and people that are just ready to, you know, kind of step into the newer vibration and get aligned, you know, with a new paradigm. And for me, it's already happened, right? So I've got Wegadesk Paul here today with me, and he is an incredible, human being. He's an amazing friend, and he's a mouthful. So Wega is he is an actor. He's been in all kinds of interesting productions. He's also a national team athlete and a professional diver. He is he has achieved the National Achievement Aboriginal Award, and is on the board of directors of the Eagle Nation Universal Production Society. Wega has done some really amazing things in the world, and he's still in the process of doing that. And Wega has a really interesting experience to share, about his experience and how he's kind of overcome that, and how we're really collectively working to sort of break some of these old patterns and really start creating a new vibration, a new energy for the people that are coming after us, our children and our children's children, right? So I say, like, we're kind of the warriors. Like, we took a lot of the shit, but we're, I'm good with that. You're good with that. So
that's right.
So Wega, maybe you can just say hello to everyone and introduce yourself, and maybe talk a little bit about your story and your foundation that you have recently created.
Absolutely. And Wendy, thank you so much for that introduction. My name, Wegadesk, is my given name at birth. That's from the Mi'kmaq Nation over on the east coast of Canada. Prior to European colonization of North America, one of the major countries that spanned the east coast of the continent was the Mi'kmaq Nation. And so that's a First Nations name that means North Star or Northern Lights. And so I've been blessed to be a fair-skinned individual and have the legal status of the First Nations people here. Having that dual citizenship, if you will, has really allowed me to experience the heartaches and the tests, ultimately the tests that the Indigenous people of this land have had to face. My father went to residential school. My brother's father went to residential school. My sister's father, very similar experience. And so for me, healing has been something that I had to start doing from very early on in my life. My father actually died 2 weeks after I was born. And that was actually a blessing, because that allowed us to move from the East Coast, where my mother and father met, and my mother came out west here, and we landed on Gabriola Island. And the West Coast, I mean, we are here to provide the healing vibes for the rest of the world, because we're right next to the ocean. The trees create so much oxygen for the world, but the oceans create, I think, about 70%, upwards of 70%. So to be right next to that is like being hooked on the drip of the ocean,
Absolutely. Well, I think even when you talk about like the human vessel, it's like 80% water, right? So being, in and understanding that we're sort of one, collectively with everything, and our at least our earthly bodies per se, would be a really high energetic spot,
For
to
sure. Absolutely. And speaking of water, I've had a very intimate life experience with water as a 10-meter platform diver. So I started diving when I was about 11 years old, and I continued on. I won my first national championships 3 years into my career, and continued to win national championships and travel all over the world for Canada. And it was such an amazing experience for me. And the things that I learned about hard work and kind of building success. One of the things, it doesn't matter if you're winning Olympic gold medals or if you're trying to improve your life, if you're trying to get a little more rest every day, if you're trying to think of better values that could better facilitate your existence here, whatever it is, there's got to be actual time focused on the project. Mm-hmm. And it's so great that you have asked me to come and do this Facebook Live program, because it allows people now to tune in and feel the vibes that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Raising the vibration, raising the vibration.
And please let me take a moment to connect with the viewers. And because we mentioned water is one of the major 4 elements. And I want everybody to close their eyes and feel as though they're a river flowing down, and just that rolling, constant rolling, just big rushing. You can feel it, and it's so smooth. And maybe there's a huge rock in the way, you just go around it, right? So the water is very, very, very special. And just feeling that, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, feeling that's going to connect us with one of the major four emotional ketones that all of your emotions are made up of. You can break up all the emotions into these four: earth, air, fire, water. And by feeling them, we can connect with them. And it may seem a little metaphysical, but at the end of the day, in order for us to do these meditation practices, I think that your viewers that are tuning in probably have a very good meditation practice where they're tuned in and they're looking for those specifics to think about. So I always encourage people: earth, air, fire, water. Thank you so much, Wendy. So let's continue on. Let's continue on with my diving story, okay? And before we go low with the diving, we're going to keep going higher, and I'm going to talk about the movie that I was in where I performed a stunt. I did a stunt in a feature film for a Latin America superstar named Eugenio Derbez, and I had a lot shorter hair back then, but they got me all tidied up to look exactly like him, and the movie was Overboard 2018. And so I'm the lead character's stunt double. I spent 20 days on set. We filmed it here in Vancouver. The dive itself that I do off a yacht into the ocean, 40-foot dive, that took about 30 seconds to a minute. Before that, they had me in the water for 6 hours filming the swimming scene after the dive. I almost died several times that day, but it was amazing. And so that was kind of like my second performance as a stunt person after a commercial that I did. And all the viewers, if you'd like to see the media that I've been involved in, my YouTube channel is Wega Paul, WEGA space Paul. And yeah, so that's the high, right? Movies, flips, world records, national championships from here to Cape Town. And on the other winning side was the fact that my coach had crossed some sexual boundaries with me as a child. And the culturing process that he put me through to put me in a position that allowed him to do that was not only something he had practiced previously, which we came to find out later, but it also taught me about the holes in society and in programs that deal with children. Where are those holes? Because this happened to me. So looking back on it, I've been so blessed, Wendy, to literally have angels whisper in my ear anytime I needed guidance. You know, they've always given me these blessings. So I've been able to overcome so much, not only in healing from the years of abuse that I went through, but also coming forward in a public manner. And not just once, but I probably had to tell close to 40 people the one day that I did a huge public disclosure, because this guy that was coaching me was also in charge of, like, you know, upwards of 40 kids sometimes. Right. And so for me, that's a huge, I needed to say something, and the organization was not happy to hear this publicly. So there was a lot of resistance and definitely not a lot of action. And that's the problem is within professional industries is a real status quo for, you know, I can't make any advances unless I've got an actual criminal conviction against this person. And nobody really feels comfortable even inquiring to say, hey, there might be some suspicious activity going on, that type of thing. So I really want to encourage people to start talking about this. And so that's why I developed the relationship questionnaire. It's a responsible relationship questionnaire, and it is supposed to be handed out to or email distributed to any parent that registers their child in a sport or a classroom environment, wherever there's going to be a person of authority over them.
Oh, great.
Right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
six very easy yes or no questions. Things like, does your coach spend time with athletes outside of regular training hours? Yes or no. Does your coach breach financial boundaries? Loaning money, giving gifts, providing financial incentive for performances. Another one would be, does your coach talk openly about sexual topics? And, you know, does your coach speak diminishingly of others? And does your coach promise future accomplishments? That was a huge thing that that the industry did with my mother is they said to her, your kid's going to go to the Olympics. Your kid's going to go to the Olympics. So my mother just believed anything they said. And they said, trust this coach. Meanwhile, they had known, right? They had known that this guy had been sexually deviant with children previously. So I started, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish what you're saying then, and I'll just tune in when you're finished there. Go ahead, Wega.
Awesome. So I started safekidsrrq.com, www.safekidsrrq.com, and that's for Responsible Relationship Questionnaire. And anybody can go to this site and start feeding the input into the database. And you know, once this thing's been around for a while and it's been circulated, when a parent goes to sign up their child for a sport or at a school and they find out what the teacher's name is, they'll be able to look up and see what the reviews of this person have been. Because I'm so surprised that it doesn't exist. There's this huge chasm between the parents and the kids. And I mean, I know as the oldest child of a single mother with 3 kids, I know how full-time it is, even just one kid, let alone 2 or 3 or 4. Some families are huge. And when the doors open to school, it's like, here you go, take the kids. And there's that separation. And one thing that COVID's, you know, done a little bit more is force the families back together, right? It's really like making you keep your social distancing, right? You're really a lot tighter. So this is great, Wendy. Again, thank you for doing this Facebook Live. How many people do we got watching?
It looks like we've got about 23, I see.
Wow, nice. 23, Michael Jordan.
You know, Wega, I think that's really amazing. And, you know, I have a child, you know, I'm a single mother of 2 kids, right? I try to be incredibly conscious, right, of my children, and I'm asking a lot of questions, but it's really hard for parents sometimes to ask those questions and to know, you know, when it's okay to kind of have those conversations as well with their children, right? So I think that that's amazing, like that, you know, you could have something that you can fill out and actually have like a standard questionnaire that, you know, it should be added really to anything that you're putting your child into, right? It gives you a really good, you know, understanding of what the child is going through. And it's interesting because before I continue, actually, I have to say, there's a lady here, or a fella, I'm sorry, maybe a fella here, Sui Gorup. I'm saying that. Was that your mom?
That's right.
Oh, hi, Mom. Okay, because I saw that she had made a donation, because we have actually dedicated to any proceeds that we could possibly make is going to go to the Hope Initiative for healing children and adult children that have gone through sexual abuse and trauma. So
Wendy, thank you so much again for, you know, this and, you know, doing the donations as well. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, I have to say that, you know, I have an interesting background as well, and I don't think you and I, Wega, have talked much about it, but I started into the fashion industry at 15. Yeah. So I, you know, traveled the world and actually, you know, had very similar experiences, I think, you know, and it was the same sort of idea is kind of people get, you know, caught up in the glamour of being a big star and don't understand maybe what the child might be facing, you know, in the process of this. And I think it's really important to be mindful and really just really, you know, careful in whose hands you place, you know, your children, right? Regardless Absolutely. Of, and yeah, just really being conscious. So what an amazing,
thank you, Wendy. Yeah. And I do want to say too that at the end of the day, that's the most important part is the Responsible Relationship Questionnaire provides a platform for parents to lightly brush up on this area. You know, if there's obviously nothing going on, then great, but just having that insight into that kid's world, because within, you know, a couple of those questions as an athlete or a student, like my coach gave me 20 bucks, filled up my gas tank, and we're going to play pool later. At that point, he's the boss of the team. Like, that's fun. That's cool. As a kid, you're like, yeah, awesome. This guy is so cool, right? And he's also talking about how cute the, you know, the athlete's tits are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking openly about sexual topics. We're working all these angles, and these are professionals, right? And so that's where the line is drawn, is that these are people who are being paid to educate a child in a certain genre of their life, right? And so, yeah, just having those boundaries is so helpful, and I'm so glad that, yeah, we have, there's huge support for this already.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that, you know, for the most part, that these type of predatorial people that, you know, are obviously very mentally ill, to say it nicely, you know, they would automatically try to put themselves into positions where they would be around lots of children?
To be honest with you, I think there is so many different stories, you know, and to even wonder how these people think is like, I try to keep my vibes way too high for that. And I just focus on what I'm going to do. And I really recognized that as a national champion. When I was the champion, everybody was talking about beating me, but I was only focused on just showing up every day to every workout and doing the best I could. There was nobody else involved. It was, you know, me and my coach. And, you know, while he taught me so much in the pool as well, he also taught me so much about life and how to be, you know, a better service to my community. When I wonder, you know, like, I've been working on this project for 15 years, and I just settled a lawsuit with the insurance company and the diving organization because, like I said, they knew. So they neglected to inform me of a known risk to them. And so I just got a huge settlement, and people are like, okay, great. Now you can relax. Now you can move on with your life. And for me, when I think, well, how can I be of most service to my community? It's at least being a voice for this type of thing. And I'm going to continue to produce media. I'm doing a lot of songs these days. I filmed a bunch of footage today of just walking around Victoria. So I encourage people to check out my YouTube channel, Wega Paul. There is a lot of really, really good media on there.
I'll have to come visit you in Victoria and have a walk with you one of these days.
It's so nice, Wendy. And until then, you can visit me through the video. It's like a tour of downtown Victoria. It was really nice.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You know, you've got such an interesting story, and I think it's so important, the message that you're bringing across to people. And I think it's really important that we shine light on this topic, especially now it seems like more and more information is coming out of children that have gone through this kind of stuff, or, you know, are still kind of going through these kinds of things. So, you know, what kinds of things can we do to help prevent this behavior, to be open and just aware and mindful of what's going on, right? Yeah. And really now taking in maybe some of the, you know, people that may have gone through this, and how do we go through the healing process, you know, with these people. Because oftentimes what I have understood from people that have gone through this is they say, you know, maybe the person, their perpetrator, came across like their best friend. They were fun, like you said, right? They held a high status, you know, they did all these kinds of things, right? So again, I think it's just being mindful of really taking that time to look into the situation and actually see, you know, see the wind between the trees and not the facade, right? Understand what's going on. And then how do we deal with the healing aspect? So maybe you can speak to that, because Absolutely. I know you have gone through a huge transformation.
For sure. So I think the first thing that I need to emphasize is that the disclosure process is something that it never stops, so to speak. You know, once you are willing to come forward, like for me, I told my mother, she was the first person, and it was still 9 months of her telling me every day that I had to tell the police. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm trying to move on. I was still in denial, right? Like, I was like, no, I just have to move on. But it's actually changing the world to be better. It's the opportunity to be the superhero in your own life.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at this artwork that I painted behind me,
I
right?
know.
This is like, yes, yes.
By the way, viewers, Wega is an incredible artist. You do have a website for your art, right?
My website right now is only safekidsrrq.com.
Okay.
I have to handle this portion of my life before I really dive into the social media. And like I said, I just wanted to get this up and going. It's been 15 years overdue. And the sooner it's up, people are putting in input already into the system, and that database is building in, you know, like 5-10 years, maybe all over the world is this program where kids are safer, because, you know, if a coach does something, it's public outcry. Here's, you know, we talk about the public disclosure process,
Right.
public outcry. Everybody, your power,
Mhm.
self-empower yourself to use public opinion, right? Public opinion is important. If there's an issue that's important to you, gather public opinion. And it helps us build relationships too. It's pretty well what life is all about, right? Here we are doing Facebook Live, and thanks again for you guys for tuning in, and thanks, Wendy. Awesome for doing this.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be able to talk with you. You're really an inspiring person. And I know the last time I spoke with you, you were sort of in the midst of your court case. And I know how challenging, you know, that must have been for you to go through. So I was so happy to hear that, you know, you made it out the other side of that, and you finally got some type of retribution, which is not nearly enough, you know, but at least it can free you now to really advocate, you know, for others. Now, when we talk about, I'd like to talk a little bit more about your art, because
Please, yes.
you really are so talented. Like, you're an amazing artist, and I don't even think I spoke about that when we introduced you, but you know, maybe you could talk, like, was that a part of your healing process? Was that something that, you know, kind of talk about maybe art therapy and how it worked for you?
Absolutely. So my healing journey really got traction when I was looking up ancient pyramids and Machu Picchu and like all these ancient stone temples all over the world. I was looking them up on YouTube, and this thing about sacred geometry came up on the side, and it intrigued me. They said, if you want to learn about it, you've got to do it yourself. So for like $10, I got a geometry set from Staples, a stack of paper, and some colored pens. And I started with this design here. And as an athlete, I was so straight-minded. Like, you know, ABC, if I painted out of the lines, I would be like, oh no. But then as I painted, I would like paint outside the lines and be like, oh wow, that's actually something that I can improve now. And it makes the painting more unique, right? And so I really have learned a lot from art, and specifically sacred geometry, because as you can see, it's very mathematical and precise. And along our healing journey, I think one of the things that the dark force uses is this ability to blur the lines. You know, it blurs the lines. It's really easy in our head to be like, that's right and that's wrong. And then things happen and it's like, huh, well, you know, maybe I'll just, you know, turn a blind eye here, and it's not really happening. But that's the dark side, and that'll creep in, right? And so to actually address everything and make it very specific, like sacred geometry, I really encourage people. Like I say, for about $10, you can get a geometry set, a stack of paper. You got a pen at home, make the flower of life. It is so easy. There's tutorials that'll take like 20 seconds to look up on YouTube. They're so easy. And then I've done thousands of these, Wendy, and I would love to show you guys more, but I'm actually in the process of setting up my studio downtown. And my site, my YouTube channel, Wegadesk Paul, is going to have a lot of footage of that site because it's beautiful. I've been blessed.
I mean, I adore your artwork, and you know I like to try to be creative and actually come to you as a mentor. sometimes, just because, you know, you really are very brilliant. And there, you know, there's a lot of spirituality that comes through your art. Like, you know, it's really bright. It's just like this warrior of the rainbow almost, you know, when I see your art and I know your story, and, you know, just how strong you are and what you've kind of overcome. Yeah, like, I mean, it almost chokes me up a little bit that there's just such beautiful people out there in the world like yourself. And I think that it's fantastic, you know, that there's something now in manifest that is taking place in the collective consciousness, and thanks to you, that is actually bringing awareness around something that was a really, you know, it's a dark topic, and people stuff it under the rug because it's uncomfortable and nobody wants to discuss it because, you know, and until you shine light on it, it's always going to sit in the shadow. So, you know, looking at you today, I mean, you are just.
I promise one of my major messages is for victims to come forward, do their healing, because it is such a rewarding process. And until you do it, it's an anchor. It didn't matter how hard I tried to succeed in life until I dealt with that issue. It was, my life would just keep falling apart. And then since dealing with that issue, I've been in movies. I've successfully won 2 major court cases by myself, you know, and which actually brings me to the topic of fasting. You know, we've talked a lot about the healing journey, and, you know, in the beginning, the coming forward process, and how not stopping until you get the desired result, you know, until a change has been made. That's in the beginning processes. Towards the end, as you confront the issue and recognize where the healing needs to take place,
Your mom is so
addiction.
sweet. Sorry, I just have to, I see your mom like posting so much stuff, and she's like, what a beautiful lady. She's just said, Mick, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, Mick Mau Warrior.
That's right. Yeah, that's our First Nations group in the East Coast. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, for sure. So as you resolve the issues, the addictions naturally are released from you, because you don't have that craving to really bite into life, I guess, as much, or have it bite into you so much. And fasting, I've found to be really, really helpful in terms of just as a practice. You know, people kind of ask me, you know, when you're on your best behavior spiritually, what's life like? And for me, there's water drinking and air breathing, and that's pretty well it. In terms of what breaches my space, you know, we talk about boundaries, professional boundaries. We have boundaries all the time, and the boundary of our body is very sacred, the things that we put in there. So just to give that a rest from the constant penetration of eating, and, you know, sometimes smoking, drinking, you know, you kind of go up the ladder, right? And so to really come down off the ladder and just enjoy. Yeah, it's so,
like a
so
purification, right? I mean, I've done some fasting as well, and it's amazing because you go through that process, and it's like you really get connected to yourself. And it's interesting, some people in my community would say, you know, that we are really in a process of shifting energetically, and, you know, the people that may end up shifting in this sort of new energy really would not require really heavy foods, would not require to eat animals, could very easily live off of, you know, what grows in the garden, as I always say to my son, Eden.
wow,
So
great.
because it's that real high energy food, and it's really kind of being aware of, you know, that it's an energy, right? And it's coming back into contact with that energy. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's super important.
Absolutely. And just to kind of say a few more words on that, people kind of ask, how do you fast? And when I started, I would try to go a full day, wake up and go to sleep without eating.
Yeah.
And I probably failed 4 to 7 times. And I would say, I'm actually going to do this, and then I would fail. And so as I continued to realize, wow, I can't do this, why not? And so then I started to learn about myself and how does this transformation take place where I say I'm not going to do something and then I'm doing something. And so, yeah, it really is interesting. Just give it a try. That's what I say. Just give it a try. It's all about getting to know yourself better.
Yeah, you're pushing me to maybe start thinking about doing a little bit of a fast. I guess it's that time of year too. Always nice to kind of do it seasonally.
Absolutely. And I'm here in Victoria, BC, and the weather here was beautiful today. Really, really amazing.
Nice. Well, you know what, Wega, I mean, you've just been a wealth of information. I feel so blessed to have you in my network of connections. I don't believe anything is by accident, and I love that you're, you know, a part of this Raising the Vibe initiative. I think that, you know, collectively, by bringing all of the darkness to the light, that's really where we're going to see significant change, not only in ourselves, but in the collective. And, you know, I am a firm believer that we are moving into a new energy, that we have our creative abilities intact. And when we understand that we can transform our pain into purpose, and we can really find, you know, our deepest inner strength from, you know, some of the things that have come, you know, that we've gone through, it really transforms us and just puts us on a whole nother, you know, energetic, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, you're a perfect example of that. You know, thanks for taking the time with me today. Maybe we could talk a little bit more just about, what is your website again? Can we?
safekidsrrq.com. So SAFEKIDSRRQ.com. Safe Kids Responsible Relationship Questionnaire. Yeah, I've shared it on my Facebook. That's Wegadesk Paul, WEGADESK. And yeah, that's amazing. One thing that I did want to say, Wendy, was one of the things I consider myself to be a practitioner of is trauma transformation to beneficiary. So trauma transformation to beneficiary. And that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, is where you take that dark stuff and when you shine the light in there, that's where the best growth happens.
Absolutely.
And so keep looking back. Every single bad day you feel that you've had, look back at it and say, how did I benefit from this? And when you can tell yourself how you've benefited from it, that'll be a good experience for you. And you go through every single day of your past until you can look back and be like, wow, I'm the luckiest guy on earth. And then where's the future looking like? Wow, right? It's just got that momentum. And so I really, really encourage people. And my biggest tool, hands down, is a deep breath, because I know one thing that trauma does that is debilitating is it causes PTSD. And PTSD is an inability to stay present. And breathing, focusing on breathing, actually technically brings you right into the present, right where your chest is. Right. That's our breastplate, right? It's like, that's where we are when we're breathing. Right next to the heart and the backbone, right? Oh man, so much power there. And so to breathe, always breathe, always breathe. I say, if you were to be chased by a tiger or to win $1 million, it doesn't matter. If you're deep breathing, you're going to do better. You know, you're going to do better in that scenario every single time. So I do encourage people to use that deep breath as a means to govern your emotions, because as you go through these traumatic experiences, they can cause ripple effects if you don't do your due diligence to control your emotions. I do a deep breath, relax, and be present. What's going on in my environment? Facebook Live with a bunch of awesome people. Yay! Awesome. So good. Welcome back, everyone.
Such a high vibrational person you are, and that's a really great tool that I'm going to also take with me. And I think that mindfulness piece is is so very important for people, regardless of it's, you know, taking a deep breath. And I'd say that's probably the best thing you can do. But, or you know, even just making sure that you're tasting your breakfast in the morning, you know what I mean? Like just being there, being in the moment. And that's really, you know, a place of power and transformation.
I
So
agree.
Wega,
Well,
yeah. So thank you so much for being with me. I love you very,
awesome.
very much.
Wendy, if I could please end with a prayer.
Sure, of course. Please do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Great Spirit, God, universe. Thank you so much, especially to the First Nations people who have looked after this land so respectfully so that we can be here now in its abundance. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the earth, which is solid and strong. Thank you to the water that is soft and gentle and allows me to move. Thank you to the fire, which keeps my heart beating and my blood pumping. Thank you for that luxury of an active principle and light. Thank you, Father Sky, for your protection around the earth, for the air that we breathe, and all of this amazing space to grow. Thank you, Ether, for allowing all of these things to become what they have. Thank you for teaching me about letting go and becoming something new. Thank you, Ether. Thank you, God, for everything, even the things I've forgotten to mention. And Wendy, would you like to say anything too?
I would like to say, you know, thank you for bringing, I do believe this is a divinely guided project, but thank you so much for being here. And I would like to thank the divine for bringing someone so special into my life. Thank you, Wega. I really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and your strength with everybody.
Absolutely.
And I hope
are we doing questions? Are we doing questions at all?
Yeah, well, we can. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like to? We've got a lot of comments here that I can go through.
Let's see if anybody tosses a comment out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to kind of go back because there's quite a bit here in the feed. I see some really great friends of mine here that are tuned in and really enjoying the content.
Awesome.
Shout out to my friend Dallas, my friend Brett. He's a really amazing guy who really enjoys this kind of stuff. Thomas is here, my friend Danny. Your mom has just, yeah, she's so sweet. My coach is here, Donna, who I will be actually hosting on a Facebook Live as well.
Nice.
People who cause harm are not necessarily ill, they are destructive knowingly. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, there's a lot of comments here. I don't
Awesome, good. That means people are talking. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you really opened up something tonight for people to think about. And Dallas just says, thank you, Dal. Great job, Wendy and Wegadesk. Thank you. So I think, you know, let's leave it there. You know, thank you, Wega. You've really opened up, I think, a really great new consciousness and a new, you know, new things for people to think about and focus on. And for people to really find, you know, the strength in what we've gone through, and that's what makes you a warrior. So it's been great having you, and I hope we'll collaborate again in the future on some projects. We've discussed that. So awesome. Okay, you have a great night, Wega.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Namaste.